What's up guys, it's Tom here and welcome to a brand new Liverpool transfer news video where we will talk about Upamecano being linked to Liverpool once again by the Bild newspaper and some credible German journalists. But first, let's talk about a big update on Joe Gomez's injury, because Sky Sports posted a more positive article on Joe Gomez, saying that Liverpool are hopeful that the defender will play again this season despite a very serious knee injury. Southgate confirmed that there was nobody around Joe Gomez, so it wasn't Jordan Pickford who injured Joe Gomez this time, but Joe Gomez collapsed. I think his foot was stuck into the grass. By the way, I don't think Joe Gomez should be training ahead of an international friendly for England. He should be back at home resting, putting his feet up, because he has been playing every 3 days, so it's absolutely crazy that he was called up to this England meaningless friendly. So the big news by Sky Sports is that Joe Gomez suffered no ligament damage and he underwent surgery in London on Thursday to fix a damaged tendon in his left knee after being assessed by specialist doctors. Yesterday, Gomez was given some hope when he was told his season is not necessarily over, but he will not be back before the end of the year. So we are looking at minimum 2-3 months injury, maybe even longer. Gomez will be given a rehabilitation program with the Liverpool medical team immediately. A Liverpool statement actually read that Liverpool Football Club can confirm Joe Gomez has today undergone successful surgery to repair a tendon in his left knee. The centre-back sustained the injury during a training session. The issue was isolated to Gomez's tendon with no damage to any other associated knee ligament. So this is very important, because that basically means that Joe Gomez didn't suffer a season-ending injury. Liverpool also said the operation to correct the damage, which took place in London on Thursday morning, was a success and the 23-year-old will make a full recovery. Joe Gomez will begin a rehabilitation program with the Liverpool medical team immediately, with the club staff carefully monitoring his progress. No time scale is being placed upon his return, though the issue is likely to rule him out for a significant part of the remainder of the 2021 season. So it's not as bad as it first feared, but still it's a huge blow for Liverpool, who are now already without Van Dijk, without Alexander-Arnold, and Matip is very injury prone, and now losing Gomez, basically we lost 3 out of our regular starting back 4, which is an absolutely big blow to Jurgen Klopp. And I think Liverpool now absolutely have to sign a centre back in the January transfer window. And Sky Sports pundit Jamie Redknapp said in a podcast, "I'm choked for Joe Gomez if it is a bad injury. He's a young man who has already had knee injuries and come back brilliantly. I'm a big fan of his. He seems like a really good down-to-earth player. I remember seeing him many years ago playing for Charlton in the FA Youth Cup and thinking this is a star for the future, and he's certainly proved that at Liverpool. I just hope it's not going to be anything too serious. From an England point of view, it's a disappointment for Southgate, but for Jurgen Klopp, if this is a long-term one and you have got no Virgil van Dijk, no Joe Gomez, that puts an enormous amount of stress on this squad from a team that were red-hot favourites at the start of the season for the Premier League title. It's certainly going to change things, and for everybody else involved, that back two has been so impressive at times. It's not been easy with no Van Dijk at the moment, but no Van Dijk, no Gomez is going to make it even more difficult. I suffered with injuries playing for England, and it's really hard to deal with, because you are so proud that you are there, but you also know it's costing you an enormous time of your career. I broke my ankle twice playing for England, tore my hamstring playing for England. It cost me an enormous amount of time being out of club football. Of course, you wouldn't swap it for the world, but there is something so frustrating, because it should be the highlight to play for your country. But when you come back injured, it's frustrating for everybody. And I fully agree. And John Aldridge just said this on Sky Sports. I think Jurgen Klopp has to buy in January. With all due respect to Matip, he doesn't have a great record with injuries. Fabinho can go in there. Henderson and Wijnaldum have played at centre-back, but not many times. The young lads have done terrific so far. But long-term, are they good enough? I don't know. I think Jurgen Klopp has to buy somebody. I think he knew that before Joe Gomez's injury. It just underlines the problem. And Aldridge believes Jordan Henderson would be better suited to dealing with Jamie Vardy and other attackers ahead of Phillips and Williams. Going forward, Liverpool frighten teams, so it is not like teams are going to come out and fly out at Liverpool. Leicester in the next game and Jamie Vardy is a bit scary. Personally, I would go with Henderson against Leicester, but the manager knows better, and whenever he has put the younger players in, they haven't let him down. It would be difficult for the young lad to face Jamie Vardy, who is one of the best strikers in the Premier League. Yeah, I fully agree, but Liverpool have to do something. The January transfer window is still a long way away. Liverpool have 8 Premier League games left to play and many Champions League games as well. But now let's talk about Upamecano, because Liverpool are reportedly one of 3 clubs who are closely following the Leipzig centre-half, who is just 22 years old. Jan Age Fjørtoft, who is a journalist working for the German newspapers, saying Bayern Munich, Manchester United and Liverpool are following closely Upamecano and his progress and his season, because he got a release clause of 42 million euros, which is 38 million pounds, which is active next summer. So Liverpool, what we could, and I think what we should do, is pay 5-6 million more to Leipzig and say to them, give us Upamecano in January. You are getting an even bigger profit on Upamecano, and we are getting a great centre-back who would straight away come in and play. And I think that Fjørtoft added to the story that, Liverpool have picked up so many injuries. This is probably the worst defensive injury crisis in the past 10 years at Liverpool, and certainly the worst injury crisis that I can remember as a Liverpool fan, and I've been supporting this great club for 20 years now. And James Pearce claimed that Liverpool were interested in signing a centre-half in the summer, but all the prices were a little bit too high for Liverpool. But now I think that Liverpool absolutely have to sign a centre-back. They just can't afford not to, because what if Fabinho suffers a long-term injury? What if that happens? Then Liverpool will basically have no senior players left to play at centre-back. Matip, I don't think we can rely on his fitness, and I think that Liverpool have to buy a centre-back in the January transfer window. And Liverpool have 4 very young centre-backs who could come in, but they are all very inexperienced. Nathaniel Phillips just recently made his Premier League debut. Reece Williams just recently made his Premier League debut, and in the Champions League he played. Nathaniel Phillips isn't even registered in the Champions League, so basically we have to play Reece Williams in the Champions League and somebody else. And also we have Billy Kumetio and Sepp van den Berg, who have no experience in the Premier League. And I mean, Phillips and Williams have to combine like 2 games in the Premier League. So this is going to be the biggest test of Jurgen Klopp's career. How will he chop and change and rotate his defense? It's anybody's guess, but I think this is going to be probably the hardest period in Liverpool's season up until the January transfer window. And I just really hope and pray that we suffer no other injuries to other players during the international break, because Liverpool already have an injury crisis. And Alisson spoke on his future and amazingly claimed that I have the desire, Alisson said, to return to Brazil, and when it will happen only God knows. I know that God has something for me. I want to follow God's plan for my life, but my heart's desire for when I return to Brazil, if God goes to answer it, it is to return to Inter, home, the club that I love. He's talking about Internacional. I have a lot of respect for all the clubs in Brazil. I might even want to play for some other club, but I don't know if I would be able to go back to Brazil and not go to Internacional. I never went into making long-term plans. Logically, I had dreams, but always with my feet on the ground and very focused on what I have in hand, what I can do now in the present. I have plans for a long career in football, to play as much as I can at a high level. Now it will be up to 35, 40 or more than 40 years old. I don't know. I have a lot of road ahead. I hope to do my best while in the national team and in Europe. And I really hope that Alisson goes on to play until he is like 35, 36. And hopefully he will spend the best part of his career at Liverpool. And Jamie Redknapp also said that Liverpool shouldn't spend around £50 million on a defender just for the sake of it. They only should sign a player who is a long-term option, and Upamecano would be that. But let's hear what he has to say. It's a difficult one. I've heard people say that Liverpool have got to go out and get a really big signing because Virgil is going to be injured, but if he goes through the right rehab to get fit, he's not going to be too far away from coming back in maybe March or April. Time as a guess. Normally it's 6 or 7 months. He's an incredibly fit guy and he will be a good healer. You don't want to bring in someone for the sake of it for 40-50 million pounds because you know you've got someone coming back really quickly. But you have if you have lost Gomez as well, you are certainly looking to get into the market and try and bring in someone in January or as quickly as you can, be it a loan, be it a signing. But it's not going to be easy to get players in. Your hands are tied to a certain extent because straight away everyone knows you are desperate, so the prices are going to get inflated. Liverpool have worked the market so well. They have not always bought the big stars, they have made them stars. Virgil may be the opposite, they paid for 75 million for him, but what his fee now would be maybe 3 times as much as that because he's such an incredible player. Defenders are at a premium because there's not many good ones around that can play like Virgil, that can defend like Joe Gomez, who is still a young man. I really hope it's weeks rather than months for Gomez, but I don't like the rumors that are coming out about the extent of his injury. It's certainly going to change things, and for everybody else involved, that back two has been so impressive at times. It's not been easy with no Virgil at the moment, but no Virgil and no Gomez is going to make it even more difficult for Liverpool. So yeah, let me know what do you want Liverpool to do in the January transfer window, and thanks for watching guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Have a nice day, see you later, goodbye.